Hello, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and this is the 54th and final episode of my Billionaire Minecraft series, and that is because I have successfully completed my task of collecting 1 billion iron ingots, gold ingots, diamonds, and emeralds, all using the All the Mods 6 mod pack in Modern Minecraft 1.16. So in today's episode, I'm going to go over a world tour of my world in which I have done that. So let's go ahead and take a look. I have collected, actually it's quite a bit more than that for some of these. So 1.2 billion diamonds, 1.2 billion iron ingots, 1.1 billion gold ingots, and just over 1 billion emeralds as well. So that was the goal of the series, and so let's break down exactly how I accomplished that. So here is my main base, and basically I have several different buildings here. This is where I house my ME system, and this is what I would call my home. And if we go down to the basement, we can see that the ME system is rather large, and the ME controller exists in this basement right here. So if we go down even further, we can see kind of where I'm getting all of my resources, and that would be, or all of the primary resources rather, and that would be these 4 tier 8 void miners. So let's take care of that zombie. And at various times I had different lenses in these things, and I've used the gemstone ore miner as well as the metallic ore miner were the two miners that I needed to use. So at my main base here, I have to generate power to actually run the void miners and all of the other machinery in the AE system around the base. I have a reactor from the mod bigger reactors, and I have some turbines. So most of my I actually have 4 turbines here. 3 of them have ludicrite blocks as their coils for the turbines, and that produces a good amount of power here. However, if you are able to use unobtainium in this mod pack, and as you can see, it actually has fewer coil blocks than the ludicrite over here, this is actually producing much more power. It's producing 636,000 RF per tick, which is almost 3 times what the other 3 turbines are making. So that is pretty fantastic. And in the basement here, we have some storage just for some random items. So that is that. Let's take a look at a few of the other buildings here. This is my workshop here. This is pretty much a manual workshop. However, the items are automatically taken to my ME system through import buses in the corner here. And they're actually over here. Right here on the underside of some modular storage units. So in the basement here, we have storage for the emerald, diamond, gold, and iron ore here that I'm generating in the void miners down below. And we have some other machinery. Most of this is intended to be operated by hand. This little system right here is something I built kind of early on in this series, in which this whole system that I'm kind of going over right now is to turn it turns ore into 5 of the ingots. However, it was intended to be used with unobtainium, allthemodium, and vibranium to get as much of those ingots as possible, because those ores were very difficult to find, especially at first. So over here I have a rail system going, and this basically is transporting items from my ore processing center that I will show you a little bit later to my main base here. It's not the most efficient thing in the world, but it actually is. It was kind of fun to set up, and it's kind of nice. And here I have a building for the ice and fire mod, and I have 3 different dragons. I have a fire dragon, a lightning dragon, and an ice dragon, and I have those with the dragon forges of ice, lightning, and fire, and these were used to create the alloy blocks that you actually need from the allthemodium, vibranium, and unobtainium to actually get the highest tier void miners, such as the tier 6, 7, and 8 tiers of the void miner in this particular mod pack. So let's continue on looking at some of the other buildings here. So over here, what do I have in the basement here? Nothing. So actually I intended to use this for something, and I completely forget. So yeah, so there's only a couple more buildings here. This one right here in the basement is actually some ore processing, and that would be for the ores that aren't iron, gold, emerald, or diamond. And actually I did have some gold ore processing down here, but that is not the primary function of that basement. Right here I have I would call it automated system to use the mod power to actually create things with the energizing orb. It's an imperfect system, and if you watch the episode, you'll kind of see me kind of struggle with it, trying to make it perfect, and I never actually did. So that was kind of unfortunate. Over here is my Draconic Evolution building, and in the basement I just have some more automatic stuff for my MA system. But up here I set up a system to actually be able to make all of the Draconic infusion crafts. So that is the main part of my base. Let's take a look at the old part of my base. So this is the old part of my base, and let's just take a look at the map to see where everything is situated. So right here is the old base, which I'm at right now, and down here is the main base, and then we also have an island base with some stuff on it, as well as my ore processing base. So that's all of the stuff that I had in the overworld. So let's take a look at my old base. So the main building here actually has a lot of holes in it. I'm not exactly sure how that happens, but it happens over time to wood buildings, it seems. I'm not sure if it's fires or what. But right now, I actually have most of the systems off at this base. It's something that I didn't use a whole lot. However, let's turn this on because there is one system that I did continually use throughout the series. And that would be my system over here to produce the different processors from the mod Applied Energistics. So actually underneath the ground here, and I'm not going to open this up, but are some inscribers. I think it's 5 inscribers, and they make, well, actually, it's probably just 4. It's 4 inscribers that actually, no, it is 5. It's 5 inscribers that actually make all of the different processors that are necessary for making all of the storage cells from the mod Applied Energistics 2. And then the rest of this base, or the rest of this building, rather, is just machines that I used early on in the series. Like I said, this was my first base, so it had kind of hodgepodge of things that I needed. Over here, I had my first spawning chamber, and I actually have the ability to spawn blazes and endermen at the current moment. And then I had 2 different killing mechanisms over here. The first one being the mob slaughter factory, and the second one being the mob crusher. The mob crusher actually gave me lots of mob loot, such as blaze rods and ender pearls mostly. And then the mob slaughter factory was used originally to get me some pink slime for the mod industrial foregoing. Sorry, completely blanked on that for a second. The power was provided by this reactor here, and in the very beginning of this, I think I used something like a dynamo of some sort. Over here is a really cool system that I actually replicated a little bit later on in the series. I have a blaze spawner in here set up to this lever. Basically, when I turn this lever on, blazes will spawn in there, and they will actually be pushed down by a fan and killed by the smeltery. And basically, this system was to make soul lava, which was used over here in my Tinker's Construct smeltery to actually melt down some stuff. So that was a pretty nifty system. So let's take a look at my island base next. So this is my island base, and I call it that because it is an artificially created island that I made out of gray concrete. So it's a pretty simple island. There's not much going on here. Up here I have my energy generation, which is a tier 8 solar array from the mod environment core. And that provides power to a giant induction matrix, which is just basically a giant battery that is a multi-block structure that is configurable via parts that you put inside of it. So right here I have, once again, a system to spawn and kill blazes, and that was actually to get this blazing blood here to be used in this Tinker's, it's not a smeltery, and I can't remember what it is called. But anyways, it was used to, and it's actually not working at this moment, but it was used to melt down ancient debris into gold, molten ancient debris, or molten debris rather, and molten diamond. And then the molten diamond was set in these seared casting basins and then sent to make diamond blocks, and then sent to a multi-servo press, which broke down those diamond blocks into diamonds. And then the gold ingots, or the gold, molten gold rather, was sent to these blast chillers, which was formed into ingots and sent to this supreme black hole unit right here. So that's what happened at my island base. Let's take a look at my nether base next. So here is my nether base, and I actually have a couple void miners here, but only one of them is operational at this point. This system right here was made to create ancient debris, which was then sent to my island base that I just looked over. And as we can see, it is a tier 8 void miner hooked up to a nitro tier reactor from the mod Power, and that provided lots of energy. At this moment, it's actually out of fuel. it's not out of fuel, it's out of redstone. I'm not really sure why it's not running. But anyways, this system obviously provided lots and lots of ancient debris and also some gold, which I never actually used from that system. So over here I had a system, or a void miner rather, set up, and usually this was meant to gather crystals, and that is because I needed crystals to advance up the environmental core hierarchy, I guess, to make higher tier of void miners, and higher, because there's 8 different tiers of void miners, and you need the crystals to actually move up tiers. And to get those crystals, you actually needed the void miners, and you needed to upgrade them as well. So, for example, to get to the tier 4 crystals, you needed a tier 3 void miner, so on and so forth. And then if you needed the tier 5 crystals, you needed a tier 4. And so yeah, so this was set up to get those crystals, and that was powered by this reactor over here, which is currently off. So that is my nether base. Let's take a look at my end base next. And this is my end base. I had a void miner, and as we can see, it is a tier 7 variant, and this void miner was set up to get crystals. If I remember right, the tier 7 and 8 crystals from the mod environmental core, or the environmental series of mods, you needed to have the void miner in the end, so I put this here, and it is also powered by a nitro tier reactor, which is currently off because it's out of fuel, redstone, and carbon, which I use coal blocks. So over here I actually manually mined for unobtainium, and that was kind of a chore, but as we can see, I did mine out quite a bit of land here, and I did get some unobtainium from that, which I used to make void miners that I showed you in the first, I guess, section of this video. So next, let's take a look at the ore processing center that I built. So this is my ore processing base, and as we can see the tracks here, that is how it's connected up to my main base. So let's take a look at what's going on here at this base. Like I said, it is for ore processing, but I have a few things to show. So in this building here, I have the energy generation, or most of the energy generation for this particular base. And it is a bigger reactor's reactor hooked up to a bigger reactor's heat exchanger. And I'm actually using sodium here. And I can't actually see that for whatever reason. The mechanism pipes are being kind of weird. But as we can see, I have superheated sodium in the heat exchanger, and I should have some liquid sodium in the reactor. And the heat exchanger is using the sodium to actually create steam, and the steam is sent to 3 different turbines in the upper levels of this building. So as we can see here, this turbine actually has vibranium blocks as the coils, and it is producing 481,000 RF per tick. Now that's actually less than the smaller turbine that I have at my main base that uses unobtainium blocks that actually provides more power, but the thing is, unobtainium is much harder to find than vibranium. Once you get to the other dimension in this particular mod pack anyways, vibranium is actually not too hard to find, and so that's why I have vibranium coils in these turbines here. So as we can see through the windows here, I do have 2 more turbines up here, and they are built the same as the first level. So this building right here is dedicated to, I'm not sure if you guessed it, but processing emerald ore into emeralds, and it is made out of emerald blocks. So up here I just use pulverizers and an ME system to actually make emeralds out of emerald ore, and that is all facilitated through this ME system right here. So actually it's not doing anything anymore, and that's because I believe I'm out of emerald ore. And as you can see, this black hole unit is out of emerald ore, so that's why nothing's going on right now. So over here we have a diamond building, and yes, it is made to produce diamonds from diamond ore, and I'm using induction smelters from the mod thermal expansion, and I'm using cinnabar as a catalyst to make them more efficiently. In the basement here, I actually have a tier, I believe, 6 void miner set up to the mineral ore miner, and that was to get cinnabar. Everything else is trashed right here via this ME system, and basically it uses cinnabar, diamond ore, and diamond ore to make diamonds. So right here we have my iron ore processing facility, and this takes iron ore and makes it into iron ingots, and that uses, or this system uses, the mod mechanism to do that, and it turns each iron ore into exactly 3 iron ingots. Some of the previous systems were actually the emerald and diamond, I think it's Actually, I can't remember. Actually, I'd have to look up the recipe here. But it's something akin to this, but it's not precisely 3. So because I'm using flint over there in the emerald building, it actually turns out to be, I don't know, between 2.5 and 3 emeralds per. And in the building with the diamonds that I'm making the diamonds out of the diamond ore with the cinnabar, I think it's 3 or 4 on average. But anyways, in this building here, to make the iron ingots out of the iron ore, I have a bunch of electrolytic separators here in the basement, and the electrolytic separators are made, or they make oxygen here, and the oxygen is sent up to sorry about that. The oxygen is sent out to ultimate purifying factories along with iron ore to make iron clumps. Iron clumps are processed into dirty iron dust. Dirty iron dust is processed into iron dust, which is then smelted into iron ingots. So that is how I make iron ingots. So this is my gold ore processing facility, and it works in much the same way as my diamond ore processing facility. It just looks a little bit different, and it also uses rich slag instead of cinnabar in some cases. It also uses some cinnabar as well. So the thing is about processing gold ore in induction smelters, you actually produce some rich slag and some cinnabar from that process. So that's why I have some of the induction smelters up here using rich slag, some of them using cinnabar, because with this ratio that I have, it should be relatively self-sustaining in terms of creating as much rich slag and cinnabar as it uses. So I felt like that was a nifty way to do things. And then over here, I actually have some 8 reactors, 8 nitro tier reactors, and the system's out of redstone, but that doesn't really matter. This just provided a little extra power to my base here. So I do have a few more ore processing, and this one right here in the copper building is actually rather cool. And actually, it's not running anymore because I'm probably out of copper. Yeah, I'm out of copper ore. But anyways, I took copper ore and smelted it using blaze powder, and that actually gave me gold ingots as one of the byproducts. So that is another way I was getting gold ingots. And then over here, I have a system to process iron ore once again, and I'm using blaze powder as a catalyst, but it looks like I'm out of blaze powder right now, as we can see. Yeah. Anyways, it helps. The blaze powder actually helps the induction smelters process much faster than they would normally. As we can see right here, if we compare that rate to this rate, you can see that this one is going much faster. It also gives a small boost to the amount of iron ingots that are produced. So the second to last building at this base here is what I call my flex facility, and it was basically set up to be able to process any of the 4 ores, the diamond, emerald, iron, or gold ores, into their respective ingots and or gems. So we have pulverizers over here, and then I had redstone furnaces as well. For the gems, such as the diamond and the emeralds, I only needed the pulverizers. However, for the ingots, we also needed the furnaces. So we have those set up to process. And I actually think I only ever used this facility for diamonds and gold, but I could have used it for iron and emeralds as well. So in the basement, I have once again an ME system to facilitate everything. And then I had some pulverizers down here, as well as a mob factory to make basalt shards from the and I need to make sure I get this right. I think the mob itself is actually called basalts as well. Yeah. So that just essentially boosted the factor or the production of the pulverizers upstairs. And in the second basement here, we actually have everything to run the mob factory, which was simply some rotten flesh and redstone, as well as these fluid vats. So I think that's just about everything from my world. I'm sure I missed a few things, but if you watch the entirety of the series, you saw everything that was going on. I guess I didn't go over my transportation facilities. Basically, in this side of it, I have loaders that load the minecarts as they go past with the diamonds, the emeralds, the iron ingots, and gold ingots, and then at the other side, I'm just unloading them automatically as well. So that is my world. Hopefully you enjoyed the series if you watched along. If you didn't, I would highly encourage you to do so. I set up a lot of neat stuff in this series, And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this world tour, definitely give this video a like. If you enjoyed this series, or in general just enjoy large scale automation in modern Minecraft, definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already. Anyways, signing off, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and I will see you next time.